Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another interesting combination to try out that I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can get out of it, because this is a brand new choke. We have tested it once before with some pretty solid results, so I'm definitely curious to see what it can give us with these pretty interesting shells today. But as for the shells we've got out here today, I brought out some of these. They are a Salt Creek cold turkey blend shell. They're a 12 gauge, 3 inch, 1 5/8 ounce payload of TSS 9s blended with lead 5s, moving about 1200 feet per second. It's a very interesting load that is pretty new to Salt Creek, and we've seen some very nice performances from it so far, but they have been a little picky with choke, so we'll see what they can give us through today's option. And a blend shell like this might not be everybody's cup of tea or everybody's taste, but it's definitely a pretty interesting loading, and being right at like $27 or $28 a box, they pretty much split the difference right down the middle between lead price and TSS price as well. And with a 1 5/8 ounce payload, they are a little lighter in the recoil department, so definitely a very interesting shell. But what can it do through today's setup? And as for today's setup, I brought out my Remington 1187. It's got a 28-inch barrel on it, and for a choke, we've got the new Carlson's Turkey Spur in the gun. This is a 660 constriction, and to my knowledge, it's a pretty new release from Carlson's. There's really not a whole lot of information out there on it, or a whole lot of people that have tested it yet that I've seen. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just a straight smooth constriction inside with a couple of portholes on the side, and being a 660, we have not tried any of those blend shells through that constriction yet, so we'll see what this new Carlson's Turkey Spur can give us. And as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. I've got the turkey target at 40 yards and the chronograph so we can get our velocity. So let's get you guys a view of that target and see what these Salt Creek blend shells can give us through this new Carlson's Turkey Spur 660. All right, that shell gave us 1219 through the chrono. The boss claim is 1200. So yeah, we're sitting right where we should be. So looking good for velocity up here, but what kind of a pattern did they give us through that 660 Turkey Spur down there at 40? Let's go check it out and see what we got. All right, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And we do still absolutely have a dead bird here, even though we were just a little bit low and to the right maybe. There's still plenty of them right through there, and that bird would have absolutely been hammered. Now, what we do see here is a pretty decent turkey pattern. I don't think it's quite the best we've seen from these shells. I think that title still goes to the Pattern Master 665 that we tried these through a while back, and to be fair, that is what Keith from Salt Creek said was going to be a very good performer, and it was, but this is not bad either. Now for a core, we might not have a super hot noticeable baseball tight core, but we've got probably a 13-14 inch circle right there. That's a very nice and even spread right through the top of that turkey's body area. So if that was centered up a little bit better, it would probably look a little bit nicer, but it's still a very solid even spread right there in the middle of your screen. Definitely nothing that I'm worried about there. Absolutely capable of getting the job done, and you probably can't tell on camera, but it is a nice blend of both the 9s and the 5 shot in that area. So if we had that centered up, you would have hit him with both pellet sizes, no doubt about it. Now outside of that, we did open it up a little bit around the edges, which doesn't super surprise me for a blend shell like this. They can be a little tricky around there sometimes to get tuned in. Outside of that, we do have a few flyers around the edges, which also doesn't really surprise me. So overall, that is still a very capable 40-yard turkey pattern. And for the price, being right between a lead and a TSS shell, and you having a little bit lighter of a recoil with that little bit less payload, that'd be a pretty solid option to turkey hunt with. And it kind of seems like a 665 choke might just be the ticket for these. They definitely did not like the 655 that we tried them through, and with this 660, we still don't have perfect edges, but we have a pretty nice central area of the pattern there. So it just seems like 665 is the ticket for these. And like I kind of mentioned earlier, blend shells can be a little tricky to get the pattern the way you want them to, and these have been some of the better performing blend shells in my testing anyway with them. So overall, plenty usable enough. It's gonna get you the turkey at 40 yards. We have seen a little bit better out of it with that Pattern Master Code Black turkey. That's a 665 constriction, so they might just prefer a little more open of a choke. So who knows, maybe now we try them through a 670 or a 675 or something and see what happens. I don't know, you guys can let me know what you want to see, but for today's result, it's a solid pattern that would do the job if you wanted to use these shells and had that new Carlson's Turkey Spur choke. And here's the wad out of that shell. Very standard Salt Creek stuff here. Definitely nothing too fancy to see. There's nothing stuck down in there. We might have had a couple tiny little snags up here on the tips of some of these pedals from the porting in that choke, but definitely nothing too detrimental. And I think the wad did its job pretty decently overall today. Definitely nothing too out of the ordinary here to see. And it doesn't look like that Carlson's turkey spur was too rough on it overall. So nothing really out of the ordinary here. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance right there? That's a pretty solid turkey pattern overall. That middle 13-14 inches right there of the pattern is pretty even overall. You have a nice blend of both shot sizes in there. So yeah, definitely a very viable, very usable turkey pattern all day long. That's going to get the job done just fine out to that 40-yard range without a problem. Now around the very edges, it might not be quite as perfect, so I do think they probably prefer the 665 choke range over something a little bit tighter, but we hadn't tried them through a 660 yet, so at least now we know. Now who knows, maybe we try them through another 665 or maybe a 670 or 675 to see what they do through a little more open constriction as well, because they could very well prefer the more open constrictions. But as for that pattern, definitely not terrible overall. That would absolutely be a capable 40-yard turkey pattern for you. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these new Salt Creek blend shells? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? What other chokes do you want to see us run these shells through that you might think perform well? And is that a good enough pattern that you would hunt with? Let me know all that down in the comments. At the end of the day, I think we've pretty much already covered it all. Pretty even throughout the core, a little splotchy around the edges, maybe with a few flyers. Still very usable out to 40 yards though. That's definitely not a bad pattern overall. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, you have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.